Okay, let's get started. Quiet on the set. CQ, CQ, CQ. Hams just won't be quiet, will they? All right. Thank you. Let's have some fun with different things you can do. Now you've learned how to program your radio, and while you still may be a little bit fuzzy, go back over these slides, watch the video again, and if you have any questions, email me. Good way to get either myself or some others who can answer your questions, info@dstarinfo.com. Be glad to answer your questions. Get questions there all the time. My call is WB4QDX. Something I didn't mention in the first hour on registration, if you have a problem getting registered somewhere, there are some repeater admins, unfortunately, are not quite as diligent at looking and checking and approving new registrations. If you cannot get them to approve your registration, send me an email at wb4qdx@arl.net. I'll work with you. If I need to register you on our local repeater, I will do that and try to contact the other person to get them to straighten it out. But as a last resort, please try to do it, somewhere locally or regionally. But as a last resort, contact me. I'll help you get registered. Question in the back.
Sorry, I'm trying to not watch questions. My local D-Star repeaters in my area are out of my range. Sometimes you can look at me.
A little louder. I can't quite hear you.
Most of my area D-Star repeaters are out of my range. So in my area, I'm not registered on a D-Star site yet. All the clubs in my area want you to be a member before they'll register. So it's not that I want to donate to them, but I really support a bunch of clubs, and it's out of my area anyway. I want to go when I travel.
Send me an email. I'll register you. And you'll get registered on their repeater then when it syncs back. Yes.
If you look on the list of repeaters, it will give you'll see sometimes stat info and register. It doesn't matter which repeater you register with. It's because it's all worldwide system. And once you're registered, that data is transmitted within seconds around the world.
Yeah. If you're that's why I'm saying if you want to register on my repeater in Lawrenceville, Georgia, you're going to show up in the registered user list in Bumfuzzle, Alaska. I've tried to pick a safe place. Is there anyone from Alaska in here? Actually, what's the town in Alaska where Sarah Palin's from? What's the name of that little town? Wasilla. There's a D-Star repeater in Wasilla, Alaska. I don't know whether she's on or not, though, so can't tell you. All right. Talked a little bit earlier about the 1.2 gigahertz radio. Some things you got to remember about 1.2. Has anyone operated 1.2 of any type? 23 centimeters. It's a little different. You're getting up closer to what we call microwave frequencies. So the higher frequencies, they don't travel as far. They're more subject to obstructions. So it's a little bit trickier to use. But with the D-Star 1.2 gigahertz radio, it gives you the capability of running the high-speed data. It will act as an Ethernet wireless bridge. There's an RJ45 plug in the back of a little pigtail coming out of the radio. So it will actually plug into an Ethernet connector. You can either use two of them as a wireless bridge between 2 points or two networks, or you can use it as kind of a hotspot. Now, just a couple of things that you need to remember when you're doing this. When you register, if you will notice on that registration page, there was a 10.something IP address that was out by that terminal you registered. If you get a chance, write that down or go back in and take a look at it. If you're operating on 1.2, you want that 10 address because that's the one that's kind of assigned to you for the network. It's not a public address, but it's used within the D-Star network. you can, and I'm going to show you, you can connect it directly to a PC, but you have to configure that IP address on the PC. That's kind of the hard way to do it. Let me get a question before I move on.
Just a comment. If you want to find that IP here physically, you would go and log into the eStar page for the computer you registered for. I believe on eStar Info on the first page, there's a link called Am I Registered? Put in your call sign, it'll bring up everything that's in the trust service.
Right, right. Yeah, go back and look at where you registered, or there's a link on the D-Star info page. I actually didn't realize that. All right, I'm going to show you an easy way if you're using that. One more question.
So to run Ethernet or support internet traffic, it has to be running full duplex. Is the radio transmitting or TV?
It's actually operating in half duplex Ethernet.
But it's just quick.
Because you're operating on a single frequency. So you're in data mode, so you're just toggling back and forth half duplex.
Between that receive and transmit.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. All right, here's what I did to kind of simplify the process. I took an inexpensive little router. I love the little Linksys WRT54G-L. I like the L because that's the Linux-based one, and I put DDWRT on it. That firmware will not fail. The Linksys firmware will fail. It'll lock up. So I connect it to the WAN side of and then the ID1 radio. If I want to go into my local repeater, which it's an A, both voice and data are listed as A, and then I have to change the mode on the ID1 to RPS. You'll have this slide as a reference when you go home and hook this up. So then I take my router, and on the WAN side, I configure it as the IP address that's assigned to me, that 10 dot address with a 255.0.0.0 subnet. Gateway, use any DNS. I'll use the Google DNS 8.8.8.8. On the LAN side, enable DHCP, and it's normally going to come up 192.168.0 something by default. You can change that if you want. By using DHCP, then I plug my laptop or PC into one of those ports on the LAN side. It gives me an IP address. I don't have to change anything in my laptop, and I'm talking on my radio. I wish I had brought my little package with me, because that's what I did. It's in a little Pelican case about this size. It's got two 7-amp-hour batteries in it. It's got a little 14-amp Jetstream power supply in there, and a little thing to charge the batteries, so I can run off an AC or battery. It's got a little Linksys router and my ID1, and that's my Ethernet hotspot for emergency communications or whatever I want to do. Simple way to do it. All right, DV dongles. The original DV dongle came out a few years ago by Internet Labs, and there's a couple of other versions that are out now, a new one by Northwest Digital called the Thumb DV, the one in the middle, and the one that's just been introduced by Icom called the Star DV, the one on the right. There might even be another one. If you're in the D-Star forum today, you might hear about another one being announced. It attaches using a USB cable to your PC. There's usually some software that runs on your laptop, but you use the sound card to be able to and your laptop is on your network, on the internet, and then you get to access the D-Star network via the sound card. I do suggest that you get a little computer headset. I use one of the Logitech USB headsets because if you try to use the internal mic on your computer, you're going to sound like I promise you, you will. Yes?
These are all Windows or Linux?
For the Internet Labs software, it will operate on Windows, Linux, or Mac. I'm not sure on the others. I know Northwest Digital is here, I think, also Icom. So stop by their booth and I can tell you a little bit more about them. And that way, From your computer, you can link to a repeater, link to a reflector, and you can talk, just like you're on a D-Star radio. That's the least expensive and easiest way to get on the network. These all sell anywhere from around, I think, about $120 to about $200. Next came DV access points. It still connects to your computer, but it has a little 10 milliwatt transceiver in it. Therefore, I am not tethered to my laptop anymore. I can use my handheld and go about 100 meters around, and I can just run low power on my handheld. I first used this on the road when I'd travel. I'd be in the hotel room, I'd plug in my DVAP to my laptop, be on the hotel internet, and I'd have my handheld. I could roam around, go down to the pool, whatever. It was a great way to get on. There's software that loads on your laptop. There's a couple of different versions. One is the DVAP tool from Internet Labs, who makes this particular one. You can also run DVAP Node, which is by another author. They both run fine on this. Here's how I configured mine for on the road. Plugged it into my little netbook first, and also have my MiFi card to give me an internet connection. So here's my little portable DVAP setup, version 0.9. Version 1, I got a Raspberry Pi. You've got a USB port on those, so you can run by connected to the USB port to one of these DVAPs, and you're set to go. Next thing I did, here's my complete setup. Same thing, the Raspberry Pi, the DVAP. Right now I can plug into and also have my Verizon MiFi card. Plug in 12 volts or the AC adapter up there. There's my setup. I miniaturized a little bit.
Now, you use Wi-Fi? Does the Raspberry Pi pick up on Wi-Fi?
Yes. Yeah, you can't see it, but right above is a little Wi-Fi dongle that is receiving Wi-Fi off of here, off my cellular connection. Right. All right, that's version 1.0. Version 1.1, I put it in a box. I went to Fry's and bought a small Pelican case. This is either a 1050 or a 1060 for about 30 bucks. I drilled a hole, actually. Can you get mine out of the clear box back there? I drilled a little hole right in the, top up here for the antenna to stick through, a little stubby duck. So that can operate. And I put a little battery in there, one of those cell phone charger batteries that gives you the 5 volts out, so I can use it. No, not that one, the one in the case. But give me that one too.
Oh, yeah.
There's the. So that's my next version that I made. And so if I'm traveling on the road, there's a lot of time, previous years coming up here, you're not within range of a D-Star repeater the whole time. So I just throw this in the back seat, use my handheld. Here it is. That's it. This is a Pelican 1060, but it'll fit in a 1050. Do this in front of the camera as well. There's everything. The battery is underneath. Have my little accessories, but it's basically the Pi and the DVAP. That's it. So that's a complete setup. I've got my own little hotspot. I'll leave it right here.
You're powering the Raspberry Pi via the USB output?
Yeah, it has a micro USB power, and so I can either run it off the battery from my little cell phone charger battery, or I can run it off of AC or cigarette lighter 12 volt. I wasn't satisfied. So I did some other things. I recently purchased one of the DV Mega cards. I think those are sold in the US through Gigaparts exclusively. The DV Mega attaches, well, I'll come to it in a minute. The DV Mega attaches, there's double row of GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi. It actually plugs right on top of that. So it's like a daughter board attaching to it. And I had to get an image, same thing for this one. The operating system, the Linux operating system, and the DVAP software is all on the SD card. So you can get some pre-formatted images off of several sites. One of them is an old version with the DVAP tool from this site, the IRC DDB version from Western D-Star in the UK. There is another source, Maryland D-Star, which makes a very nice image for these, and you will burn that image to your SD card, and then you'll just have to do the configuration, put your call sign and that kind of stuff in there. So it's easy to make it work, and then it operates what we call headless. You just power it up and it boots up and starts up and everything's fine. So it's ready to go. In fact, can you look in the, no, it's up here. I'll get that in a minute. Just to digress, I'm going to show you something in just a minute. Need a place to plug in. I'll show you in just a minute how easy that is to go. A company a little bit later said, well, you know, I can make that into kind of a little ruggedized setup. And this is from a company called Hardened Power Systems. They're out at somewhere in Middle Tennessee. Unfortunately, they had a fire which devastated their facility. I think they're back online now producing these. But it comes with the Raspberry Pi, a little battery pack. You just have to add the DVAP. And it's got a nice little front panel which you can interface to and everything. And it's in one of these very durable plastic cases. So that works well too. That's just another version of that in a nice little case. All right, I recently bought a DV Mega. This is the little daughter board that connects, sits right on the connector here of my Raspberry Pi. And I'm doing this on one of the original Pis, the Pi Model B. It will work on all versions, including the new Pi 2B. And so I put that, and I got this case from MCM Electronics. With a plug like that, they owe me more, don't they? Everything was fine except the little SMA connector for the antenna stuck up through there. Well, that's okay. I'll just drill a nice little hole that this little rubber duck just snugly fits on. And all I have to do then is just connect power, give it an internet source, and I'm on the air. Now, remember back in the last hour I did some DVAP settings in DR mode? That works wonders with this. Now I can just select from the to field where I want to go. I can link to it, unlink, and there's also some extra commands that this one gives you to reboot this, halt it, switch between. This is a dual band DV Mega board that's just been started offering. So it can operate 2 meters or 440, and I think I can configure it where that I can switch between them with, and it runs the IRC DDB gateway software. So this is my version 2.0, and I really like it because it's just real easy to do. And the Maryland D-Star, if you just Google Maryland D-Star, I love their image. It takes at least I don't think it will load on a 2 gig card. I think you have to have a 4 gig card because they give you a whole bunch of other stuff. But you can VNC into it and see the whole screen and do your configuration. I really like what they've done with it. There's several people doing a lot of good stuff for this. So that's a way to do it. And for anyone who's out of D-Star range, you can make a little hotspot pretty quickly. D-Star on HF. If you've got a 7100 or a 9100, or you can do what I did back a couple of years ago, and I used a GMSK modem and a dongle and a computer and connected it up to my Yaesu FT857, 857, and I made an HF radio out of it. But if you've got one of these radios, there is actually some D-Star on HF. Now, will it replace single sideband? Absolutely not. It's fun to play with, but it's not a real, well, first off, it's not a very band efficient mode because you're putting a 6 kilohertz wide signal out there, which is at least twice the width of a single sideband signal. Also, fading affects it more, which you'll get on HF frequencies. There is a net that is operating, and it has gotten bigger and bigger, and they operate several nights a week. And so if you go to if you look at the nets on, or actually on the homepage, I think there's on dstarinfo.com, there's a link to the HF net, and you can actually operate there. They operate on 3 or 4 days a week. They're making contacts all over the world. My first contact from Atlanta was 15 meters to Arizona, and the first time I heard just normal speech coming out of my radio, not single sideband sounding speech, I went, wow, this stuff is pretty neat. But it's a lot of fun. They're making contacts all over the world with that, so that's another thing you can explore. Yes, sir.
And you took your 857.
Mm-hmm. The dongle gives it the ambi-chip, and then I use the GMSK modem to modulate it into a GMSK signal, feeding into the 9600 baud packet port of the 857. And so I've got a laptop, a dongle, a GMSK modem, and the radio. And I was doing D-Star, and since the 857 would operate all bands, I could do it VHF, UHF. What? The GMSK modem, I use the Icom board. I don't think I had a picture of it in there. But Jim Moen is here. He'll be here tonight also for the D-Star meeting tonight. And we're featuring homebrew stuff tonight. So come on back in this room tonight, 6:30.
If I remember correctly, and I may be wrong, the manual of the 7100 has instructions to program and operate on D-Star only on VHF, but not on high frequency.
It may not tell you how to do it on HF, but very simply, change the mode. On the 7100, I don't have a 9100, there's a mode command up here that says FM. Touch that, cycle through to DV, you're there. And select a frequency, see it's set to a 40 meter frequency there. That will work. Has anyone operated D-Star HF? It's kind of neat to play with, right? All right, there's, for some of the newer radios, there is an Android app. Yes, there is an app for that. That is called RSMS1A, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. You can get it off the App Store. It's only available for Android right now. But with a cable, sometimes a special cable, I think, the 2350 LU cable, you can connect it to your handheld and you get some other features. You can control your radio. If you're in DR mode, you'll see the to and from display. You can send and receive pictures. You'll snap it on your Android phone or tablet, send it or receive it. You can send text messages. You can do mapping. There's a lot of different features in doing that that's easy to do. If you have a 5100 with the Bluetooth board, you don't have to make a connection to it. You can just pair your tablet or phone to your 5100 and do the same functions with the app. It has to have the Bluetooth adapter board in the 5100 to be able to do that. Yes?
Make sure that the Bluetooth will not work with every droid. You have an older droid and older.
Yeah, so I've seen reports that some Android operating systems, I guess especially like maybe the earlier ones, if you haven't updated, there's some incompatibility there, but I've seen an awful lot of them where it will work. So,
4.0
at least 4.0 or later.
And the other thing too is with the Bluetooth headset, if it's not Bluetooth 2.0, it won't work.
Yeah, now that's another thing. He said there's an Icom Bluetooth headset you can use with this. So you can actually do your push-to-talk, transmit, receive audio through the Bluetooth. I have a Plantronics over-the-ear Bluetooth headset, and it works with it as well. So I can use the app, and I can press. I feel like I'm on Star Trek. I press push-to-talk. I hear it beep. I can talk, release. You know, that might even be handy for driving down the road.
So you connect using the OPC, that's the data cable where they say the
It's not it's another cable. It can be used as a data cable, but it has to be the one that you use to do the Android app, because it has an on-the-go capability, and the on-the-go cable for Android, it has that built into it.
Yeah, because the Android device may not have a simple like a port on it.
Well, the Android device usually has a USB port, but it needs to be used like an on-the-go cable, and that has it built in to the 2350 cable. So you will need that for the handhelds. For the 51, you use the Bluetooth. But if you want to come by the D-Star booth over in the main arena later, we'll have a 5100 there, and we can show you the app as well. So stop by if you want.
What's the difference between an ID 5100 and an IC 5100, or ID and IC?
I don't understand how Icom determines whether it's an IC or ID. I've even asked, and I can't get a good answer. That's why I normally just use the 3151, 7100, 9100, those to answer the question. And I may have, I think some of the ICs were some of the earlier radios, even though that doesn't really follow that nomenclature. And it seems like all the new ones are ID. I don't know.
All the HF and all the commercial stuff's all IC.
Well, you get into like the 7600 and 7700, 7800, all those. That's a whole different animal. So I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason on the D-Star side to it. You see a mix of that. A new little software package, just a little freebie came out that's posted. It's kind of in extended beta right now on the D-Star Info site, called DV Pro. If you've ever tried to run a net, you know, it's really nice in D-Star that you have the call signs being sent to you. So any of you that have been on the nets, some of the nets, a lot of them will use a function called Quick Key. I do net control in the Southeast D-Star weather net a lot of times, and I'll say, okay, Alabama stations, please Quick Key now. And I have some software running on the gateway that sends me that list sorted by repeater, and they're underlined, and then I call them all off and then hit a Control-Z and they go away. This program was developed by WA4YH, and it connects with the data cable to several of the radios, and he's trying to expand that list as well. And it does a lot of that functionality from the radio. So it displays call signs. It will give you a list of call signs in different tabs on that. You can show your list of call signs that you've acknowledged or not. So it's a lot of flexibility. You can download it at the site DV Pro. Amy is the XYL of Ed. Did you actually, I'm going to put Amy on the spot. The last time you ran the Southeast D-Star WeatherNet as NCS, did you use this program?
Yes, I used it the last 2 times.
Okay. So you could use it actually to run a net, and she ran that net with about 50 to 75 stations and about 25, 40 repeaters connected as well.
And then data cable to connect to your PC on the 51, 50 same data cable you use for
The same data cable works for this as for programming, the regular programming cable. You know, there's I forget the name of it now. There's a couple of Icom versions. One has a DB9 serial connector. One has a USB. The RT Systems USB RTS05, the orange cable, works well with it. I love that cable.
Are you looking to take that to like an Android app?
Not right now. I mean, this is obviously running on a Windows. If you come over to the D-Star booth this afternoon, Ed will be there. Ask him that question.
A couple of things on the programming cable, just because I work on the commercial side of Icom. Make sure that you get the adapter, the proper adapter for Windows 8. The older ones don't work with Windows 8. And
Which cables?
The adapter on the OPC cable, you have that little bump, the adapter that they have, the programming cable kit that comes with the software.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an A, a letter A, and whatever, you know, on the little dongle, the letter A is the one that'll work with Windows 8.
Okay.
Yeah. I know, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on this? It's a free download. Go out and try it. Play with it. And I'm sure Ed will love to hear any suggestions you have on improving it. Because I'm serious about that because it is under development. Have any of you used DRATs? I love DRATs. How did it get that stupid name? Rats is star backwards. I don't know. Dan Smith, KK7DS, I believe, originally wrote DRATs. It is a great program to use D-Star data. Here's a little configuration. Is my actually, that's not a laptop. That's my Windows tablet with a Bluetooth keyboard. And because the Windows tablet has a USB on it, I'm connecting using the RT Systems orange cable to this radio, and I can run DRATs on it. DRATs has some great features. And if any of you are into Aries, Races, InfoCon stuff, it is getting an awful lot of use there. It's a free program. I'll start that out. It does messaging. I love the forms capability. You can build custom forms. File transfer, like an FTP function. Mapping. You can also, if you don't have a D-Star radio, you can connect it directly to the internet. There's some software with it called, well, it's called Repeater Proxy, but it's really, we call it a Ratflector. It's like a reflector for DRAT's data. And there's a lot of those running around. And again, that's available in multiple platforms. There's a lot of great features in the software. But Dan is no longer doing development in it. I saw an email this morning from someone who is starting to pick up some additional programming for DRATs. That's exciting to me. If anybody, for anyone's benefit, this is written in Python. If anyone does Python and they're a ham and understand this stuff, it'd be a great way to get involved with it. If you haven't tried DRATs, try it. There's a few places. There's I developed a Getting Started with DRATs document with screenshots and everything that'll get you started. If you'll go to the Georgia Aries page, GAARES.org, and look under digital, you'll find a document. I think it's also on the D-Star info page. Getting Started with DRATs, that will really help you get started. In Georgia, for example, DRATs is one of our 3 digital modes that we try to train on and work with. You can, the thing about DRATs, and here's what I like about it because I use FLDigi as one of them as well in some InfoCon work. You are broadcasting over the air. However, on a message, you can direct that message, address it to a specific station, and even though it's going over the air, it will only come into their inbox. Now, on the file transfer, you're doing one-to-one. There's a chat screen, and obviously that is broadcast. But you can also create private chats within that. No, we do it through repeaters. We do it, it will go over reflectors. For example, in Georgia, well, in my county, and in different counties around the state in Aries, we've set up Ratflectors for those county groups. And so we'll have something that bridges from their local repeater to the internet. And that way, whether you're an internet user or a radio user, they will work together. Then we've set up a kind of a state Aries rat reflector, and it also connects to reflector 30D, which we've kind of reserved for data, and some of the different repeaters are doing that as well. Give it a try, something to sample and try out. Oh, now we're at the good part. All right.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, well, we'll take a couple of questions before we do that. We're going to make you wait just a little bit longer.
When you're now linking to or want to now have a QSO with Japan, don't you need to have a license because you're retransmitting in a foreign country QSO either from here or in Japan? I need a temporary license. So I saw on the downloads, from Icom, they blank out or they kind of, defeature that. Is that because of licensing?
Well, a couple of things with talking with Japan. Japan's rules are different. You did not see any reflectors for a long time in Japan. They would use call sign routing, which means you're directing your call directly to a station. And so you saw a lot of that to and from Japanese stations. Whether they're just flying under the radar or whatever, but you're starting to see some reflectors. I think there's at least 2 or 3 D plus reflectors. I think there's either an X reflector or a DCS over there as well now. And you're starting to see some Japanese stations come in via reflectors as well. I'm not an FCC expert, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night. I stayed here. So I can't really tell you FCC licensing things on that with any kind of authority. But what I will tell you is you will hear Japanese stations through U.S. reflectors or around the world, and they're also call sign routing. The call sign routing meant you really weren't coming out on like a repeater in Japan, which was kind of the heart of your question. But I think there are some Japanese repeaters that are now connected to reflectors. Whether that's a change in their legal requirements, I don't know. Question in the back.
On the DVAP, everything I've read on that says you need radio to use the DVAP interface. Is there any out there that lets you use a standard FM and convert it to the digital to go out?
Question is, with a DVAP, do you have to have a D-Star radio, or can you use a standard FM radio? The answer is, from the models that are out there right now of all the DV access points, DVAPs, it requires a D-Star radio.
Yeah, and you're paying double.
Well, you are, but you're getting some extra capabilities. You're creating a little hotspot. And there's always some discussion about should we link D-Star repeaters to FM repeaters. Number one, you have a difference in audio quality, and some people object to that. The features don't transfer. For example, your call sign would not be transmitted over FM, or an FM station, you would not see their call sign. So there's some differences there. There have been some people that have done that to kind of circumvent what you're talking about, to be able to use a standard FM repeater in some kind of a D-Star, in the D-Star network. But I think generally people are trying to keep the digital networks, and I don't care whether it's a DMR or a D-Star or whatever, kind of pure, and keep digital signals the same and no analog with them. Will it stay that way? I have no idea. There are some people I saw recently, I think it's in Germany, they've linked a DMR repeater to a D-Star repeater. So there's a lot of experimentation going on, and I think that's one of the great things about it. We encourage that. Any other questions before we give away that radio? You just want to get the radio, don't you? Okay, I knew that would stop it. Okay, what have we got?
You want somebody to pick it that doesn't care, that works for Icom?
No, he works for Icom. We're not doing that. I'm going to... Did everybody get a ticket, by the way?
I'll pick, because I'm not allowed to, or I will not.
But you're Icom, I'm not doing
No,
that.
even there you go.
I just want to make sure, the only person that didn't make it was Charles McCoy. Is he here? Okay.
Well, everybody said they got a ticket, so last chance. Well, you got a ticket in this. Oh, you don't have a ticket. Come here, Amy. No. Amy, just for full disclosure, Amy doesn't have a ticket in here, but please, everyone give her a hand for helping check you in and everything this morning. And she took care of getting all these mouse pads for you.
And Ed designed it. I'm really trying to make sure.
No, that's his ticket. Don't worry about it. Okay. All right, here we go. Are you ready? The winner of the ID 51A, and I'm not going to do this like American Idol to The Voice and stall forever. 208 377. 208 377. Is that yours? Got it? Come on up here. All right, before we leave, hang on just a minute. Come on up. We're going to get you on camera and everything. Validation is good. Turn this way. Take a picture with his radio.
Transmitter not included.
Okay.
All right, good. Do you have a D-Star radio yet?
I think I have 51.
You got a 51?
No, an old one.
An old one. Well, you're good now. All right. Yeah. Come, stand right here. Stand right there. Get a capture on that. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Just to let you know, there's a D-Star forum in it's the large conference room. I can't remember which one it is. It's at 12:45 today.